All right, we're in Motion Builder, and I have a character from Ready Player Me here. Important thing to note is that we need to convert this Ready Player Me character, like we've done before, from GLB to FBX in Blender. Easy enough to do. Also take note that this is in an A pose rather than a T pose. That's very important because we want our mocap data to transfer to our avatar. And if the mocap data is in T pose and the avatar is in an A pose, we're going to get really weird arm rotations that are just not going to look good. So you want to match that mocap data. It's called a zero position. If our mocap data started in an A pose and our avatar is in A pose, then it would be fine too. So you could reset that avatar manually if you want it in your 3D program into a T-pose. Alternatively, probably an easier way is for us to do this in Mixamo. So if you upload your character to Mixamo, your character to Mixamo, which I've already done, it will process, it will come in here, and then you'll end up with the character in Mixamo. Even though it's in A pose, that's fine. When we click download, it's going to ask us, you want it in T pose? Yes. So download that in T pose, and then import that character into Motion Builder. Your characters should be humanoids, 2 arms, 2 legs. It's all right if they're monsters, although you might get some unexpected results. But as long as they are humanoids, 2 arms, 2 legs, it will be fine. If it's something like a spider with 8 legs or a dragon, it's not that simple to do because we're taking motion capture data from a human being and applying it to a creature that doesn't have the same form factor. It's not as straightforward. But this orc would work fine, these weird leprechaun would work fine, this troll would work fine, this werewolf would work fine, because they're all 2 arms, 2 legs, which is what we're sticking with for right now. All right, so I've imported that Motion Builder character. You don't have to, or I've imported the Ready Player Me character. You don't have to use Ready Player Me. That's just one of the options. It doesn't really matter to me where you get your characters from. I just rig them using Mixamo because that's the easiest way to do rigging, and bring them into Motion Builder. So in Motion Builder, I've brought in my character, I've opened the FBX file, the T-pose FBX file, and here it is. So now I want to bring in my mocap data. So I'm going to go to File, Merge, and then find on my hard drive here, mocap class, do this one, sure, Walking Wonder 1, sure. In Motion Builder, if you have multiple takes embedded into one FBX, they will pop up here. In our case, I'm pretty sure it's just 1 take per FBX. Just click on it, click Merge. You can also rename the take if you would like to here. That's fine for now, Merge. So here we go. Here is our motion capture footage. Gets up, walks around. Cool. In a T-pose, in a pretty good T-pose, remember, if there's a discrepancy here between the T-pose or it's a saggy T-pose, you're essentially saying the avatar is perfect straight, but then it's saggy T-pose. It's not going to be as good as it could be. So you want those things to match up. We can straighten the joints and everything. If this was not facing forward, positive Z like it is now, that would be a problem as well. We could rotate the hips and do all those things. Those things can all be solved, but it's not a problem right now, so we're going to skip past that. So what we need to do is we need to do what's called characterizing our avatar and our motion capture data. If I click on Scene, I'm going to click on open up Armature, which is the Ready Player Me character, and open up Izzy, so I see the hips. So I see the hips on Izzy Root and on the armature, which is the Ready Player Me character. I need to drag this little thing from the asset browser and motion builder, characters, character. I need to drag this onto hips for my mocap data and for my avatar. So I'm going to drag it onto the hips of my avatar first. You can drag it on in the outliner or the navigator, I guess it's called in motion builder, or in the actual window. I'm going to do it in the navigator. So drag and drop on the hips. It's going to pop up a little button that says characterize. Everything might disappear. Don't panic. Characterize. It's going to ask me, is this a biped or quadruped? It's a biped. And is it facing in positive Z? Yes, it is. Biped. Okay. Now that I've done this, in my navigator window, in characters, I now have a character in characters. Default name is character. I suggest you rename these things so you can tell the difference. Right click on it, rename. I'm just going to call this RPM for Ready Player Me. RPM. Cool. Now I need to do the same thing to Izzy's mocap data. Drag character onto Izzy hips, characterize, biped, and now I have another thing called character, which I could also rename. I'll just call it mocap. So now I have Ready Player Me, RPM, and mocap. So I want to take the avatar and have it use the data from the mocap. So there are a couple of different ways to do this in Motion Builder. I like this way best. Also, if you click on your character, Ready Player Me, and you go up to the top right, you see there's a character. It's a little cut off there, but it says character and source. So my character is my Ready Player Me character, or whatever your avatar is, and your source is the mocap data. It's only going to show things that we've characterized here in this list. If you have multiples, there'll be multiples there. You don't just have to do 2. So I'm going to set RPM, and then I'm going to set source. As soon as I click this, you're going to see the avatar jump over to where the mocap data is. Good. That's what we want. Now, perhaps there's an offset here. That's absolutely fine. It's just because when Izzy did the mocap data, they weren't standing on the 0, 0 position in the world. Not a big deal. If they were, then they would have lined up. Our avatar was at 0, 0, 0. Izzy mocap data was not. Absolutely fine. But that's just the discrepancy. You can see there's a little sizing difference and stuff like that. We could mess around with that. We could scale down the avatar to make it more fit the proportions. Those are all good ideas to do, but not something we're going to do right now. So now the mocap data is synced with the avatar. If I scrub this, it animates. I can use Control A to alternate between these different view modes. So I'm just going to view the avatar itself. This is also in display up top left. You can click here. For some reason you're not seeing your skeleton, you're panicking. It's probably because your view mode is set to something different. So I'm going to check this out. Play. Remember, our wrists are knife hands. Our hands are knife hands. We weren't capturing hands. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Just speed up the speed here a little bit. Slow it down again. Now there are some problems here, like the hand goes through the body right there, and sometimes the hands go through the floor. All those are expected things with the motion capture cleanup. We're not going to get into cleanup right now. This is mostly just a process of characterizing and exporting. But this is a good first step. It doesn't look half bad. It looks pretty good. Cool. So let's export this thing. So right now, the avatar is using the mocap data. It's just streaming from this mocap skeleton to the avatar. It hasn't been baked into the avatar skeleton itself yet, which is the next thing that we need to do. We need to do what's called plotting the skeleton. Plotting, P-L-O, plot. A couple different ways to do this. I like to click the blue button up top here and go to bake plot to skeleton. We will look at bake plot to control rig at another time, which is useful for cleanup. But for right now, we're just going to go straight into Unreal. So bake plot to skeleton. Blue button, bake plot to skeleton. Depending on how long your take is, it's done already for me. And now it is baked to the skeleton itself. So now I can export this file, save as. I want to call this Ready Player Me, Izzy, I guess, Izzy01. Or Walking with Wonder, I think is what it was called, Walking with Wonder. You know, whatever you want to call yours. Remember, it's good to name your animations appropriately. And save. If you have multiple animations, looks like I have the T-pose here and the Walking with Wonder. I'm just going to uncheck the T-pose and save. So now come over to Unreal, content drawer, create a new folder. You know, I just recorded this and then I realized that my mic was muted the whole time. Messed up. So now I'm doing this again. So import in Unreal. We want to import the avatar first, just the mesh itself, no animation. So no skeleton because we haven't imported it yet. Skeletal mesh, yes. Import mesh, yes. Import animations, no, not yet. And then import the materials and textures and all that good stuff. Import. So this is going to import all the textures and materials, but there's not going to be any animation. And that's fine. So you have one avatar with one mesh. You don't need to import the mesh every single time you import a new animation for that character. You know, you have a walk cycle, and an idle cycle, and a jump cycle, and a run cycle. Those are just animation files. They don't need the mesh imported every single time. So we import the mesh once, and then we import new animations that we tell to use that mesh and skeleton. So we've imported the mesh and the skeleton. So now I'm going to click import again. What was this? Walking with Wonder. So here, import mesh, no, uncheck. Which avatar to use? Unreal's pretty good at guessing which one it is. If you have similarly named things, make sure it's in the right folder. That's fine. You know, any animation that is going onto the same character is going to use the same skeleton. All right, import. All right, and here it is. Let's check it out. Open it up. Oh yeah, look at this. Captured in Motive, brought into Motion Builder, applied to a Ready Player Me avatar. Yes, there's problems. The hands and the fingers go through the head. The hand goes through the ground. But the legs look pretty good. There's some clothing that goes through the ground. These are things that we can clean up. Look at this performance. Fantastic. But we're not going to clean them up right now. This is just a starting point. Looks good. All right, cool.